Hey guys, let's get more news about Warriors, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Warriors trade pitch nets $176 million All-Star for Paul, Kuminga, Peyton. The Golden State Warriors could juggle their roster enough this offseason to create an opportunity to trade for a 9-time All-Star who could help elevate them back to the top of the Western Conference. NBA contract rules cleared Paul George and the Los Angeles Clippers to negotiate an extension on top of his 4-year, $176 million contract months ago, but the two sides have been unable to get traction on a new deal. George has a player option on the 2024-25 season, the final year of his current agreement, and can opt out and become a free agent on June 29. The longer the two sides go without a deal, the more likely it is that George tests the open market and leaves LA for nothing in return, which makes him a likely trade candidate under the right circumstances. Bill Simmons of The Ringer said on the June 24 edition of the Bill Simmons podcast that Golden State is the #1 team he's watching in a potential move for George this summer. The team that has been floating around, and I don't know how real it is, but I think there's an equal sense of desperation on their side, is Golden State. So on June 28, they either have to guarantee Chris Paul's contract for next season, which is $30 million, or they have to buy it out for $5 million. So it's still a trade asset. The Clippers are a second-apron team, and it gets really hard to make trades with second-apron teams. The Warriors would also be a second-apron team if they kept Klay Thompson. But if they get rid of Klay Thompson, all of a sudden, they're not. Which means that there are two possible Clipper trades that they could do for Paul George. One is they could combine Chris Paul, that contract Clippers would have to guarantee it next year, with Jonathan, Kuminga, and with Gary Payton too for Paul George. Simmons and his Monday podcast partner Ryan Russillo, also of The Ringer, made the case that the Warriors owe it to star Stephen Curry to make a trade this summer that brings a player like George into the fold. If you're Golden State, you have this once-in-a-generation ticket with Curry. Are you really gonna waste that? Simmons said. Like, are you just gonna say, we had a good run. We won in 2022. Now let's have the mid-2010s Kobe Bryant retirement tour for the rest of the decade, basically. I don't think they want that, I don't think he wants that, so I'm watching them the most with trade week here. George boasts career averages of 20.8 points, 6.3 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 1.7 steals per game and, when healthy, has been among the best two wings in the NBA over the course of his 14-year career. George will play next season at 34 years old. Russillo countered by saying that Curry deserves a major move, even if the player Golden State acquires isn't a precise fit with how the Warriors play. They probably owe it to Steph more than any franchise owes a single player in the NBA of like, when you're still really good and there's a 2-year window. We can talk about Jimmy Butler, we can talk about Paul George, there's some lesser people like Zach LaVine or Kyle Kuzma or whatever. If you're the Warriors, how do we raise just our level of talent? It doesn't guarantee us anything. Paul George may not even fit our movement and all the stuff that we're doing. But based on the options, and what we'd have to invest in the player on top of everything else, at this point I think you're so desperate, it probably starts to make a little bit more sense. Now you're not looking at yourself as a perfect engine, you're looking for anybody to just be way better than what your second or third options have been. Curry remains under contract with the Warriors for the next 2 seasons. From unknown prospect to Warriors NBA draft workout, the Langston Terry story. Sacrifice means everything to Langston Terry. It means going all in when the odds are against you. It means moving across the country from all your friends and family. It means being a dreamer, believing in yourself above all. Chasing a game is for dreamers, and the NBA draft is designed to make wishes come true for a few, but crush hundreds of wide-eyed souls every year. The Warriors, for more than a month, have worked out groups of prospects ahead of this week's NBA draft, taking them through measurements, individual combine drills, shooting, 3-on-3 and 5-on-5. Players from blue blood college basketball programs such as Duke and Kentucky have come through Chase Center. Big-time schools like Arizona, Oregon, Florida State and Clemson have been represented too, as well as smaller ones in Santa Clara, McNeese State, Weber State and Grand Canyon University. Golden State even brought in a 19-year-old guard from the G League and 2 teammates from France's Vichy Clermont. On May 30th, Terry, a prospect with a blank space next to his name, was part of a 6-player Warriors pre-draft workout. He has no college stats. NBA Insider shares new info on Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody trade rumors. The Golden State Warriors are once again at the forefront of trade rumors after falling in the play-in tournament to the Sacramento Kings. Golden State won the NBA title in 2022, but have won just one playoff series since. Now, the Dubs are likely going to look to add an impact player to help them get back to the finals. A few players in particular are likely off limits in trade negotiations, though, power forward Jonathan Kuminga and guard Moses Moody. Monty Poole of NBC Sports is the latest insider to weigh in on the situation. The Warriors have exhibited no desire to part with Kuminga, and their same intent has been applied to Moses Moody, Brandon Podziemski and Tracy Jackson-Davis, Poole wrote on June 24. The 7th overall pick for the Dubs in the 2021 NBA Draft, the 21-year-old Kuminga is coming off the best season of his young career. In 74 games last season, he had career highs in points, 16.1, rebounds, 4.8, and assists, 2.2. With those stats, it's no surprise the Dubs want to keep him around. Plus, the Warriors have a ton of draft capital to offer. Golden State has 5 future first-round picks in addition to 4 future second-rounders, per Bleacher Nation. They have a pretty good set of assets, ESPN's Ramona Shelburne said about the Dubs on 95.7 FM's The Game. There's some other good young players on the team outside of Kuminga. They have draft picks, they have Wiggins, they have Gary Payton too, they have a lot of options there, they have a lot of optionality and decent contracts. And then there's also the blue chip, which is Chris Paul. With healthy draft capital and Paul as a likely trade piece, it's no surprise Golden State would like to keep Moody around, as well. The 22-year-old shooter also had a career year last season, netting 8.1 points and hauling in 3.0 rebounds in 17.5 minutes per contest. The Warriors seem firmly committed to maximizing the next 2 seasons, with Stephen Curry and Draymond Green, as well as coach Steve Kerr, all under contract. With or without Klay Thompson, that's not a core built for a long future, Poole also reported, adding, that's why such players as Paul George and Jimmy Butler, both into their 30s, invite intriguing speculation for a Golden State team holding 2 future first-round draft picks. Butler is an interesting name, as the 6-time All-Star is one name that keeps getting mentioned as a player who will likely be traded this offseason. Around this time last year, the Dubs acquired veteran point guard Paul from the Washington Wizards, sending guard Jordan Poole, Patrick Baldwin Jr. and Ryan Rollins, in addition to multiple future draft picks to Washington. While there were whispers the Warriors wanted to part ways with Poole for months before he was actually traded, there hasn't been near as much talk around Kuminga this year. Things could change, of course, but as of now, it would be a surprise if Golden State moved the young forward. And you fan? What do you think of the situation of Jimmy Butler? Leave your opinion in the comments.